Hello and welcome to this sewing tutorial to make your leather bag Ella. You will find in your sewing kit the leather pieces that will form the bag as well as the metal parts, the thread with 2 needles and a small pair of scissors. For those who want to use them, finger guards and a thimble. To complete this kit, you will need a lighter. We start with the rectangular piece that will be the bottom of the bag and the 2 matching pieces that we will sew together. We take 4 lengths of thread based on the large piece of the bag. For all the seams of this bag, we will do a double needle technique. So we're going to pass the thread into the needle. Then we will pick the thread, which will create a small loop that will slide down the needle. Take most of the thread and pull it gently, which makes the knot go up towards the needle. The same goes for the other side. This shape of sewing will allow us to work with the 2 needles by alternating them. So we start sewing by fixing the small piece to the larger one. The 2 needles are passed through 2 of the holes in the piece, then pulled to have the same length of thread on each side. We sew by following the line of holes and alternating the needle. The idea is to have a continuous seam line. And once back to the starting point, we sew 1 or 2 holes over the thread to secure it before tying a knot at the back of the piece. We finish by cutting and burning the excess thread. We will sew in this way for all the pieces of the bag. The first part done, we'll do the same for the second. We continue with one of the semicircular pieces, the one that doesn't have the magnetic clasp, and the 2 small pieces with a hole on it. We take another 4 lengths of thread and start sewing the pieces. As you move forward in the seam, you will notice that there is a gap hole on the piece. We will sew it with the top needle that we pass through this hole before returning it to the bottom in the second hole, which makes the needle return to its starting point. All the holes of the main piece are therefore sewn, but we continue sewing on the small piece alone until we come back to the other side. We're going to sew in exactly the same way and go back to the starting point. Once the 2 pieces are sewn, take the piece with the magnetic part. We will sew it to the previous one, taking care to put the magnet on the other side. We take 2 lengths of thread based on the whole piece. There are 2 bigger holes on the larger piece to give the marking of the ends of the piece. So we start sewing with one of its holes. Let's take the part with the other magnetic parts, as well as the 2 small inserts with the slits. The sewing will be the same as the previous piece. The small pieces are sewn together before sewing to the small hole on this side, then following the line of holes before coming back to the starting point. We now move on to the pieces that will be the pockets. We take 5 lengths of thread. Notice that on the upper part, the whole line is a little offset from the lower line. Be careful to put the other piece to the bottom. We're going to start sewing on top and adding the second part going down. This first pocket done, we can do the second one. Take the 2 pieces previously sewn and add them to the pockets. We take 4 lengths of thread. The pocket is in front of us and we sew the second piece on top. Here too there is a hole that is a little bigger than the other. This is our benchmark to add the pocket. Let's move on to the fasteners that will welcome the shackle. Take the main pieces of the bag. Take also the metal buckles and the small pieces with it. We can see the pattern of holes which will welcome the fastener. The piece is passed through the loop before folding it back on itself and sewing it to the bag with a small length of thread. We now move on to the handle. We take the 2 pieces that will form the handle and the plastic tube. We take 2 lengths of thread based on the handle. Put the two parts together and start the sewing from the bottom. We sew following the holes. Same as before, there is a small gap hole at the top of the piece. We pass the top needle through it before continuing to sew the handle alone. At the back of the handle, once there are 4 holes left to sew, add the plastic part and push it to the end. And from now, we will sew by closing the piece on itself. So we pass the needle through the next hole, then into the opposite hole on the other side of the handle. We continue to the end of this part by tightening the handle to fix it to the plastic. We will sew a second time on this part by coming back to the other side to finish the sewing, returning to the starting point. Finally, we're going to sew the second part of the handle on the other side over the fastener in the same way. And once this piece is done, we do the same for the second one. To finish fixing the handle, take 5 lengths of thread. We will sew the handle on itself, taking care to tighten the thread to enclose the plastic part inside. Let's move on to assembling the bag. Get the first bit we sewed as well as the bottom of the bag. Place the bottom behind the main piece and the other piece on top. So we're going to sew the 3 layers together. Take 5 lengths of thread. The sewing is a little different. First, pass a needle in the first hole, pull the thread to have the same length on each side, then pass second needle through the same hole. So there's a small part of the thread that's going outside. We continue sewing, alternating the needle until the end. You can use the clamps to hold the pieces together. Once this part is done, we will do the same with the other part. Turn the bag inside out and take one of the two side panels. Take 3 lengths of thread and we start with the center of the side piece. The piece is sewn directly over the bag. We're going to start in the middle where you'll find a bigger hole to start sewing. And sew all the way up. When we will arrive a little higher, we will add the piece with the magnetic clasp. So now we add this piece with the pocket and finish sewing. You can pass the small side panels through the holes in the bag. And once this first piece is finished, we will do the same with the other, adding the second pocket. We're going to finish sewing the top of the bag. We take 2 to 3 lengths of thread and finish assembling the part. Now we can add the metal fasteners to the small part. Pass the buckle through the piece. Fold the piece on itself and sew it. The line of holes in the fastener is sewn to the other line of thread sewn before. All that remains is to attach the shackle to the fasteners behind the handles. Et voilà, your bag Ella is finished, a very robust and practical leather bag to accompany you to your next outings.